All right, I want to welcome right back to another episode here in our series, our video series on writing and AI. And today we're going to have the opportunity to talk a little bit about teaching AI literacy. And I got to tell you, in putting our list of folks together to join us for this series, I was like, I really hope we get a chance to talk with Vera about teaching AI literacy, because I know that Vera Cubero, who is here from the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction, was part of the group in North Carolina that put together their state level guidance. It was the fourth state level guidance in the U.S. that was released. It has been recognized as being a real leader, their group, and also just that guidance, for others in that space. And so we are really fortunate to have Vera joining us to talk about this important topic. And so, Vera, thanks for taking the time. And let's just dive right into it. Help us out, because AI literacy is a pretty broad topic. I think if you really start to get into it, it encompasses a lot. So help us kind of understand what we mean by AI literacy.
Okay, well, first of all, just AI literacy. A lot of people think it means like you're trying to train everybody to be an AI developer, and that first of all is not the case. Just like everybody wasn't a computer scientist, everybody still needed to learn how to use computers. Same goes with AI literacy. Even though everybody's not going to develop these programs or these AI platforms, everybody will be impacted by it for sure. And so with AI literacy, we're just talking about, I like to use the digital promise definition. They have a really good definition that includes just the knowledge and skills that enable humans to critically understand, use, and evaluate AI systems, and to safely and ethically participate in an increasingly digital world. I think that sums it up really well. And so when you look at that understand, use, and evaluate framework, the understand piece, as far as everybody goes, but in an educational setting in particular, I think it's important everybody understand, what AI is and what it's not. For our students, a big part of that is making sure they understand that it is an algorithmic program. It is not a human, that it is is capable of making errors. It's not infallible, things like that. But then also that they need to understand the benefits and the concerns of using it, and then how to use it effectively and ethically goes into the use part. And then critically evaluating, anybody who knows anything about AI knows that you really have to be that human in the loop component, make sure you're evaluating everything carefully. And so when you break it down in those terms, it's not so overwhelming. Of course, there are going to be varying levels of AI literacy. I think, in my opinion, everybody needs at least that base level of literacy before they're turned loose on the tools, in particular our students.
Yeah, which is why, so we're putting this document together to hopefully help address this. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can go to the show notes or the description and access the document I'm referencing. But yeah, it's imperative that we learn about this tool, but then also to think about, just as you said there too, if we're going to continue to be the human in the loop that has the ability to use our discretion and our ability to write and think and reason, to complement and to sort of work in that rhythm with this technology, we have to still be able to have some of those skills and foster those. And so that's why we, obviously value writing and want to speak to how these two can kind of work side by side a little bit throughout this series and throughout this resource. And so let's kind of like expound upon that, Vera. If we're talking a little bit about students, right, and their need to learn about AI literacy broadly, what is that? What are we talking about, and what does that mean?
Well, I think for students in particular, I mean, one of the main jobs of education is to prepare them for the future. And I think there's no denying that their future is going to be very much impacted by AI. The younger a person is, the more it is going to impact their future. And a study that came out in May 2024 from Microsoft and LinkedIn really had some shocking statistics. First of all, they found that 75% of what they call knowledge workers, which is people basically in the business environment, are already using AI. And that was a 50% increase in just 6 months. But a couple more shocking statistics they found was that 66% of the business leaders they surveyed said that they won't hire anybody without AI skills. And again, that's not a future prediction. That's not 2030, that is 2024 in May. And then they also found that 71% of the business leaders will, they actually prefer AI skill over experience. And so they'll hire somebody with less experience who has AI skills over somebody with more experience that doesn't have AI skills. And so that's a big part of it, just making sure they're prepared for that. But another big part of it is just that kind of an unfortunate side effect of the proliferation of AI tools and the progress that we've seen in the last couple of years is what we call synthetic media, or I think Leon Furs calls it digital plastic. I mean, they're going to live the rest of their lives in a world where you really cannot tell whether it's text, image, audio, or video, whether something is human or AI generated. And that's changed drastically just in the last year. A year ago, I was telling people, well, if you look at the fingers, they might have 6 fingers, their ears might not match up. And those things are gone. The tools that, might have to pay for those tools, but there are tools readily available online that will create completely realistic images, audio, and video of humans and people doing things that's really very, very hard to tell whether it's real or not. And in the near future, it will be impossible. And so I think to make sure that our students are critical thinkers and they're critically evaluating everything they see and thinking very carefully about the ethical decisions they make about creating and sharing and documents like that, I think it's just crucial for their futures, but also for society as a whole. In a democratic society, these things can really cause a lot of problems. And so we need to make sure we're training our students and everybody. If we could train all the adults, that would be fabulous as well.
Well, I mean, you just walked right to our next topic there then, Vera, I think, because, and hopefully even from your response there, that becomes apparent that it is, we as educators have to develop a certain level of proficiency if we're going to be able to then support students and ushering them into, I'm gonna follow what you said there, not only the present reality of this new era of AI, but also as it evolves, moving with it with a keener understanding of those changes and what that means for what we can, I mean, I hate to say it, trust in what we believe and see and react and are responding to, right? I even think about scams and those types of things and the ways in which some of the AI technology is going to enhance the presentation quality of some of the things that we're really going to have to be thoughtful about. And hopefully educators can be at the front line of helping to support kids as they grow in their understanding, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I mean, educators, well, first of all, it's just everywhere. We've learned over a year ago that it's just not possible to block or ban these tools because it's an arrival technology. It's not like the internet. It took 3 decades for the internet to really become mainstream. In less than 2 years, here we are with AI, and it's on the phones. If you get a new device, a new phone now has AI on board. They're making computers with AI on board. Pretty much every program that educators rely on has AI enabled. And so if we're trying to block it, we're just preventing those students who are relying on schools for access and that to technology and tools and skills. We're preventing them from having access, but we're not preventing anyone else. And so that really increases that digital divide. Also, if we're not handling this correctly, we will actually put more stumbling blocks in the way of our minority students, the communities that are typically marginalized, the lower socioeconomic groups who are already going to struggle. And based on those statistics from the workforce study, I mean, they're going to go out and compete for those jobs, and they're going to be at a greater disadvantage than they were previously. But if we give them those skills, this is something that can really level the playing field because the AI skills can help them to really move out of generational poverty and things like that even. But really for teachers, it's just something that we have to accept as a reality. This is different, as Dewey said, if we teach today's students as we taught yesterday's, we rob them of tomorrow. And that's never been more true than now. The world has changed. It's not the same world that it was 5 years ago. And so we have to adapt what we do to make sure that we are preparing our kids for it.
Gosh, and as you're talking there, to think about what AI can be with regards to, let's just say, the support or tutor or at home presence that, I'll be honest with you, Vera, sometimes with my own kiddos, new math, I could use a little AI help sometimes. Yes, and so it is really great that in the absence of having something like that, that we would be able to, leverage AI in that way. And so, with all of that being said, I think we have to also bring up the challenges as well that come along with teaching about AI. And so, it's one thing to say it'd be really great to step in this space. I think we alluded to it a moment ago. The tech's moving pretty fast, and so one of those challenges is keeping up. And so, what would you kind of add to that list?
Well, the biggest challenge is, the kids now have a tool that can very quickly and easily do the majority of the work that typically has been assigned to them. I was a teacher for 14 years. And as I think back on all of the assignments that I used to give my students, I was social studies and English language arts in middle school. I'm ashamed to say the majority of it now I would have to revamp, because most of the things I gave them, they could plug into ChatGPT and get a decent response in a few seconds. And they could even say, write this like a typical ninth grader, throw in a couple of spelling errors, and it would not only fool that AI detector, but it would fool me as a teacher. And so that's a challenge. Change is hard. Managing change is very hard, but as teachers, I won't say, throw out everything you did, but you've got to revamp your assignments to make them more AI resistant, to incorporate more critical thinking, higher order thinking skills. And that is tough. Teachers are going to need a lot of guidance and support through that process. But if we really want to teach in a way that will benefit our students, I hope that we will see more project-based learning, more grading of the process of the assignments instead, but also changing up the assignments to require more critical thinking. Like, one example I like to use is, I used to always ask my kids to write an essay. I know this is lame, but on the causes and effects of World War II, for example. And now, that would be so easy for them to get in 30 seconds on their phone or whatever. And so now, maybe revise that essay and say instead, assume we're going to pretend that the Axis powers won World War II. And if that were true, how would your life today be different? Think of at least 3 things you do on a weekly basis that would be different if the Axis powers had won. And now, even if they go to ChatGPT and say, who are the Axis powers and what did they believe in? They're going to have to then apply that to their own world, their own situation, which employs those critical thinking skills we've been talking about for years. And so even if they're using ChatGPT as an assistant, which we may as well always think they're going to do, because most, it's going to be there and people are going to use it, they're still going to be learning in the process. But also, it's going to be a whole lot more of, instead of just accepting the essay and grading on the essay, quizzing the kids about it. If they can answer a few questions about it, or if they can teach another student about it, then they've learned. And so it's more about, I think we need to focus more on, did they learn the content, not what was that finished product? What did it look like? Because that product is, going to be easy to create with an AI tool.
Yeah, we're on the same page here, Vera, because I'm thinking, gosh, he's talking process versus product here. And I love that shift to thinking about, and we did an entire video in this series on that, that the why and communicating that why, right? And an example I've used at times too has been that you could easily get a forklift to go to the gym and lift the weight off the ground for you. It's not a matter of functionally trying to do it, but you show up there because you want to get something out of it for yourself, right? There's something that you're hoping to be able to build within you that maybe isn't the fastest, most efficient way to get that thing done, but it's something that you need to kind of set yourself in the place you'd like to be moving forward, I guess, or the condition you'd like to be in moving forward. And I think we'll have to think about learning that way and be a little bit more clear in our communication of that teacher clarity piece of why behind things. So, gosh, 15 minutes goes real fast, Vera. So here's what I'm going to say, I guess, as we kind of bring things a little bit to a close. We're going to throw up here that if you would like to access that resource that we've referenced throughout, you can access it there. We're going to include in that document where this video, you may be watching it actually, a link to a set of resources, amongst which the North Carolina guidance will be embedded there. So certainly go check that out. I'm sure you all will really appreciate getting a chance to learn from Vera and that group, as I certainly have. And do you have any sort of like closing message here, I guess, for us, Vera, as we bring things to the end?
It did go fast. It went really fast. I would just say that that things are changing. I mean, on the daily. But one thing that recently has changed, I don't know if you've had a chance to play around with ChatGPT, the Canvas feature that's in the Plus version. It is kind of a preview into what is the AI tools are going to do. They're going to roll it out to the free plan soon, but it actually opens up your writing in a window on the right and allows you to edit anywhere in it, and then also to ask for assistance. And so that gives you more control over the writing. And I would just say that, you know, things like that are going to evolve so that it becomes more human-centered. They're trying to make those tools so that it's not just whatever it gives you, you just take and go with. And we also need to train our students that, but the tools are also evolving in a way that will help students with that process, with being a co-writer, using AI as a co-intelligence. But it's just something teachers are going to have to teach the students. When I taught in the late 90s and early 2000s, when the internet came out, it was very much the same process. We were worried about kids copying and pasting and claiming it as their own, which they certainly did, but we had to teach and train them better. And we're going to have to do the same thing with AI, just a much more condensed timeline. So.
Yeah, well, thank you for all the great work that you do in this space. I'll say follow Vera on LinkedIn. That's where she does a great job of sharing the recent, posts and blogs and articles and research. And so that's another great place to learn too. But thanks for all your leadership in this space. And we appreciate you joining us for this video series. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it.